Good evening, one and all. This is your night driving experience of the World of Football podcast. With me, your host, the great one, the one that owns the place, the face that runs the place too. It is me, Reece, and before I present my guest, this is all for you. As always, it is your favourable intro video. Enjoy.
Live on YouTube and listen back on Spotify. This is the World of Football podcast.
And night driving is still going. See, night driving loves us. It loves the people. See, that is night driving at its finest, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen. Oh, yes. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the World of Football podcast. We have another blockbuster show for you tonight, live from the couch, because that's what we're doing tonight. We are in kickback mode for this big show, but we're not going to kick back for long because we've got a lot to get through. We have Euro recap. We've got the Premier League shit show to discuss. We're going to slate Scottish football tonight in terms of playing in European football. TV deals for the Premier League, which I find quite embarrassing as well. Some of it I find embarrassing, but some of it's very interesting. And we might have ref watch. We might have manager watch. We will be discussing one manager in particular who's an absolute weirdo. But everybody knows which manager I'm talking about. Certainly in the group chat, they know which manager I'm talking about. So we'll get into that. But of course, this is pleasantries. This is housekeeping. So introducing brother number one. It is Nathan. How are we?
I am very well, thank you, Reece. It's great to be back, and I'm actually sober this time.
I'm quite shocked. And
until
beneath
Cardiff
me,
City came along last weekend. Let's bring it on.
Absolutely. And below me is brother number two, who has one of the worst groups in the Euros, which we're going to get to tonight. And I'm going to say this now. I think they have a slight chance of getting out, but it's like a 1% chance. From a 4-team group, Albania have a 1% chance, and I'm just being very honest. But it is brother number two. Julio, how are we?
Can we just get on with the show, please? There's just so much that's not in my favour to discuss this evening. Let's just get on with the show, guys.
That suits me. That suits me. Let's get right into it then. So we are going to start with the more obvious. We are going to start with the Euros, lads. Normally we start with the Premier League, but the Euros is not long. We are now in December, so we're now coming to the second half of the domestic season. It's fast approaching. We are hitting the situation of the new year. And eventually we're going to get to the most important thing, and that is the European Championships. All of us bar one, to a degree, on this show tonight has a representative at the European Championships for good reasons and negative reasons. We are going to look at the good reasons why Wales aren't actually at the Euros. This isn't to slate Wales. There's actually some good reasons why Wales aren't going, but there's also some very obvious negatives, exactly why they aren't there in the first place. So we will come to Wales last. We are going to go through the teams that actually do represent us on the panel. So the likes of Italy, Germany, Scotland will be discussed. I'm not looking forward to that part because that's the first game of the fucking tournament. Scotland versus Germany, of course, will open Euro 2024. We are going to discuss Albania's group, which is genuinely baffling. That is some incredible group. And obviously that does have Italy in it, so that's going to be even funnier. We are going to discuss England's group as well. We'll see if we have a similar opinion. And then after that, we'll just round up the groups in general. So, of course, Nathan will be my hype man for this. So Nathan will be bringing up all 8 groups from Group A to Group I. But we are going to just get on with the obvious question, gents. Before we even discuss the teams in each group, it's just a question of, what do you think of the groups in general? Me personally, apart from maybe one or two, I actually like the draws. What about you, Nathan?
Yeah, to be honest, I'm more than happy with it. I mean, we'll get on to Wales in a bit, but if some miracle happens, well, it's not even a miracle because who we've got in the playoffs, I mean, it's going to be Finland and then either Poland or Estonia. I'm sorry, but if you don't qualify for that tournament, then that's
don't
an
have to be there.
absolute disgrace for me. But
Yep.
that's something we'll get onto after. But aside from that draw, we got some wicked groups, quite a few groups of death as well. And apart from that, it's shaping up to be one of the best Euros since like Euro 2016. And that was a wicked tournament. And I'm not just saying that as a Wales fan, but
Of
at the end of the
course.
day, you know what I mean. I was trying to get that.
It was an overall good tournament. I agree. It definitely was. Julio, yourself, your overall thoughts on the groups?
I think take away the playoffs first. I think all but two of those groups, maybe all but one, at the moment, have three teams that could qualify. Look at all the groups, especially the first like five.
Yeah.
They all like Germany, Scotland, Hungary, Switzerland. Any two of those could qualify. Spain, Croatia, Italy, Albania. Any three or four of those could qualify. Slovenia, Denmark, Serbia, England. You know, at least Slovenia and Denmark could challenge England if we're basing it solely on reputation alone.
If you're
Netherlands,
basing
Austria, France.
you're basing it purely on it's 11 men versus a goalkeeper. Let's be real. Slovenia is literally just Jan Oblak and 10 players. They don't have anyone else.
No, I know, but I just my point is obviously that because it all comes down to how different results go. For example, I don't know much about Slovenia. Slovenia could draw a game or two. Like 4 points could be enough for them to qualify. They could literally draw one, win another. It's obviously based on how results go everywhere else. Netherlands, Austria, France. France could top that group, and it could be between Netherlands and Austria because we all know how unconvincing the Netherlands have been in recent years.
We are going to do two predictions. Just not to cut you off there, sorry. We are going to do two predictions. So we are going to do a mini prediction tonight ahead of the tournament before the final tournament friendlies are played, because obviously there are going to be some final tournament friendlies before them. So we're going to do the main predictions after the before the tournament starts. We'll do it the week or two before. We'll do it the week before, 2 weeks before. We'll do a full prediction on the channel. But tonight we'll just go like each group, just say like what we think, who is going out, and we'll also do the potential like there is a third place that can go through, but that's depending on your it depends
all
on
about
the
the
accumulation of
results,
points. Is chance, yeah. So we're going to do that, but carry on what you were saying anyway, Julio. Carry on.
I mean, even looking at the playoffs, there are some teams that potentially could. I don't know exactly which groups certain playoff winners are going into off the top of my head.
It's
off the top of my head, but
is it not groups C and F or something? So like
I think
that.
it's-
Nathan, you'll be able to
I think
check
it's
that.
D.
Yeah. So we got D. Yeah, it is DEF. Quite ironic.
I thought so.
All in order as well somehow. So playoff winner A, we've got Wales, Finland, Poland, Estonia, and and what pays us off really well, and I'll get into this later. Cardiff.
Yeah, you've
exactly what we need.
Oh my god.
Yeah, you've got an
We've just
opportunity
been-
to get home legs. You've got homes here if you get
Has to
them.
be done.
To be fair, England couldn't do it on home soil at the last tournament. What makes us think Rob Page with Wales is going to do it?
That is
Good
a
on record.
hard. That is a hard playoff as well.
Yeah,
For me,
Because
this
any
is
one of
really
those
open.
could do something.
The team you'd expect to go through is Bosnia,
Yes.
but I've got a shock prediction for that playoff.
I don't
We'll
think
come to
so.
that
I
very
don't
shortly.
think Bosnia have been good enough for a while now. I think they've fallen off significantly to what we knew them as maybe 5-10 years ago. So
No, they haven't.
But-
I'm just being brutally honest. That's what I think. Like, out of the four, they are the name. This one, I'm expecting either Georgia or Greece. I
For
think
me,
it'll be
Greece
Georgia.
fly it.
They probably should. I think Georgia could. Georgia have just got that talisman though. And they've got a good goalkeeper. But Greece are a decent team.
to be fair, Luxembourg could have it at home based on Luxembourg
If they get
sitting
through Georgia,
actually
that's
in
the
Luxembourg.
problem.
Yeah, if Luxembourg overcome Georgia, Luxembourg potentially, if Luxembourg City is actually in Luxembourg. I'm not being an idiot here, am I? But
It is. It's like it's the very
Yeah.
top of it's at the very top of the country. Like their capital city is literally if you're going out towards the water, which is wild.
There we go. That's interesting as well. Just scroll down to it. It is the top 4. Of
so the top 4 third place teams qualify.
Yes.
Look at that. Look.
That is honestly a roll of the dice.
Read there. Look at this. Look at what it says at the bottom for the rules for classification.
Points, goal difference, goal scored, wins, low disciplinary point. Wow, I can see a scenario where it goes down to lower disciplinary points total.
But look who else can easily just walk through in 3rd place.
Literally,
Germany
all they need is a win. That
Germans.
through.
Yeah, because 3rd place are the hosts. Which isn't technically fair. I mean, I say that even though I'm a Germany fan. Like, it's not technically fair, but that is circumstance.
Didn't Portugal qualify with 3 draws?
Yes.
They
and they went on and won the damn thing. Jesus.
Yeah, in extra time the whole way through.
I was going to add as well.
Apart from the Wales game. Wales was in 90 minutes, but apart from that, everything was either extra time or penalties.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And I did see one tweet earlier, and I got to say this. Someone said that, Ronaldo broke Wales' hearts. Ronaldo was player. No, he wasn't. Ronaldo was absent the whole tournament.
Ronaldo flopped to that tournament hard.
He was terrible.
For me, Quaresma, Renato Sanchez, or Eder were Portugal's best players.
I was going to say, those are the 2 names at the front of that. Maybe even Patricio and Font at the back.
Possibly. It pains me to say it with those 2 as well, because both of them were Swansea at the time, pretty much.
Pepe as well. Yeah. He played very well at the tournament. But for me, I'd say that the best player they had is most likely it was genuinely like Renato Sanchez came into his own.
That was at the end of his breakout season with Benfica, and it just all went downhill for him there. From there, pretty much.
Yeah.
Jesus.
100%.
The crazy thing was, though, like I'm pretty sure they played a strike partnership of Nani and Ronaldo the whole tournament. Obviously, he had Eder come off the bench and change his life pretty much with that goal, but they were not favourites in, like, especially in the final. Forget the fact France were hosts. But yeah, Euro 2016 was a great tournament regardless. I'm going off topic a bit here, but honestly, anything could happen, and it looks like we might have an interesting summer ahead.
Oh yeah, we definitely do. So we may as well just deep dive into it. So the first group obviously is the hosts. It is the host Germany, surrounded by Scotland, the Hungarians, and the Swiss. Right from the off, this does give group of death vibes.
100%. The only one that does worry me a little bit, sorry to jump in there, is Switzerland. Sometimes they turn up in tournaments, other times I think they can be a bit cagey. But they do have the players there.
Hungary shocked us at the last tournament a little bit. Do you remember there was at one point where I think they were going to go through in the top 2 and then Germany were out or something. I can't remember because they were in the group with France, weren't they? And Portugal.
It was Germany, France, Portugal.
Ridiculous in qualifying.
They were also perfect in the Nations League.
Yes.
Ironically, the two best statistical teams in the Nations League since the Nations League inception is in this group. Scotland and Hungary have got the best record in the Nations League, like for group stage performances.
They must have rigged this draw. They must have rigged this draw in the sense of all the groups are for like
to ensure difficulty
just for viewings, because this will be interesting. This is on paper it looks like it's going to pique everyone's interest. I really hope it doesn't flop. But
this is one of those groups that will really test the mettle, and it'll really have you. 9 o'clock kickoff though is not so bad, especially at Bayern's ground. But like when you look at this group, obviously you're expecting the Germans to win this, but that's expectation. The actual reality is the team that's probably going to win this group is actually Hungary.
It wouldn't surprise me, especially considering, well, obviously Germany haven't had that qualifying campaign, which really prepped them, and it's just been friendlies since
they
then, and
haven't.
all they've had is the Nations League to go by. And in my opinion, I think Germany have been absolutely shocking.
No, I
And
agree
I think
with
that
you.
lack of preparation and the departure of Hansi Flick coming in, Thomas Tuchel, if that's correct. No, Nagelsmann. Ignore me.
Nagelsmann, yeah.
Yeah, Nagelsmann. I don't know why I brought Tuchel into
And
it.
he's already doing those weird tweaks already. He's putting Havertz at left back, which makes
What?
no
Left back on the
sense.
bench?
No, he's the last couple of games that Germany have played, Kai
No,
Havertz
no.
has started left back for the Germans. Yes, Vicky. I think when you look at the
Question.
when you look at the group as a whole, the irony about a home nation though, when it comes to a tournament, is in the build up to a tournament, they're generally shocking. Like England as well were shocking coming at the Euros, and then they end up having a very good tournament.
But then again, with the Euros, technically England weren't hosts.
No, but they were
UEFA
vast
just-
majority.
Well,
They
UEFA
played
just
one
bombarded
game
them.
away, didn't they?
Yeah, they played one game away. The rest of them were at Wembley.
That tournament
So
was
they
just. I know it's going off topic a little bit, but that tournament was just generally a disgrace with the way it was set up.
Yeah, it was. It should
Didn't
have
you
just
lot
been.
play in Azerbaijan?
Yeah, so we had 2 matches in Azerbaijan. Actually,
We were all over the
ignore
place.
me, all 3 of them. And then our knockout
Yeah,
game, I believe it was against Denmark, wasn't it?
Yes.
That was in Amsterdam, where they wouldn't let anyone in the UK.
Yeah.
So we
it
weren't
was
able to see
really-
anything.
Jesus
It was
Christ.
really poor. It was really poorly organised, and it didn't reflect. And they can't do that again. Like they just can't.
No.
The fact that this is the fact that the very first game as well, though, the Germans obviously, when you look at it from like Scotland perspective, like yeah, Germany have really got to get on from the off. Who they play in each position is big. The squad itself, it needs to have big match players in it. Like they need to turn up, otherwise they're going nowhere. And if Nagelsmann wants to keep the job, I said it a couple of weeks ago, if Nagelsmann wants to keep the Germany job, he has to get semi-finals minimum. Like semi-finals minimum, even win it. He cannot get the job permanently if he just gets out the group. That's not good enough.
The thing I
I
will like
want-
to say as well is Germany-Hungary, the fact that it's been playing second and that they're not playing Switzerland first is a
Yeah.
massive disadvantage for them.
I think even themselves, they would have wanted the Swiss match. It's quite interesting as well that even though Germany are on home soil, Germany are the designated away side for their final group game. Just find that fascinating. Let's look at the rest of the group. So Scotland, I think Scotland's reasonable expectation in a hard group, even to get 1 or 2 points would still be great. I mean, good form depending on who Scotland actually bring into the tournament for squad. Like Scotland have got a chance to take 4 players from Newcastle. As what? I'm not saying that just because I really want to happen, but I'm just saying they have that option where they can potentially bring in 4 players from Newcastle. Squad as a general ranking has gotten better. Ranked 34th in the world. Should be a lot higher than that in my opinion, based on form. There is certainly something there from that squad that's you don't get to a tournament by not deserving it. Last time people were saying, well, Scotland were quite lucky to get to the Euros based on the playoffs. This time Scotland got to the playoffs decisively
On
and
merit.
earned it as well, like playing the right style of football that suited the squad that got there, even through injuries, still maintained strong position. Scotland haven't got anything to lose. Like Scotland aren't coming to Euros to whoever says, we're going to go and win the thing, but we're going to go and be there and actually we'll give it a go because we've beaten some of the world's best players in strong teams to get here. So there is that element of what can they do. I think Scotland, if you look at it, I think unbiased, Scotland finished potentially 4th. Like I think Scotland will probably be the team that you would expect to finish bottom of the group, but that's just honest. But in actual fact, Scotland could easily get 2nd or 3rd, depending on how they play.
All of them
Especially
could.
Yeah,
All of
I
them
like
could
this-
finish joint
yeah.
second. Genuinely.
this is going to be such a hard group to predict. Hungary, I think, are the most likely team to finish top if they get what they need right away, because they are just so consistent with style, with work ethic, with the players they've got. Germany might be the favourites, but Hungary could easily snatch it more than any of them. And Switzerland, well, we know about Switzerland. We know what they're like. They're hot and cold, but they seem to do better at Euros than they do World Cups for groups in terms of point accumulation, but they still get out. So we'll see. I'm excited by this group either way. I'm very excited.
And me, I think just to very quickly summarise it, this 19th of June, you can call it game week or rounds or whatever you call it, that's going to be crucial for who goes through. For me, whoever wins it, straight
this
through.
Will be match week 2. This will be match week 2 because this is the first group.
And I actually think that if Scotland get a result over Switzerland here, guaranteed through for me, and I think that is going to happen.
Yeah, I think if Scotland can get 4 points out of 7 from those 3 groups, from those 3 group matches, I'd take it. Like, I would in a heartbeat. I'm hoping Germany and Scotland actually do a physical draw, because I just don't pick one over the other. But in circumstance being though, like, this will be, and what's even better though is, look at this. They're listed it as match. I don't know if they've done this right or wrong, but they've listed the Scotland game as actually ahead of the Germany game. So I wonder if they've actually made a typo there, or generally this is actually meant to be the earlier kickoff.
Which was this one for?
Match week 2. Yeah, it's match 13, match 14, but Germany's a few hours earlier than the Scotland game, even though the Germany game's 1 game ahead. Can you see where it says match 14, match 13?
Yeah, that's got to be a typo.
Yeah, because they fixed it on the bottom one. They kick off at the same time. Match week, match day 3, 9 o'clock on the 23rd. I'll be watching both at the same time just to see who does what, because that is going to be some solid matches. And there is a lot in this game, because obviously when you look at historical stuff as well, obviously Germany and Hungary have got a rich history against each other in international football. The great German team that won the World Cup in 1954 in Germany beat that famous Hungarian side that was unbeaten. So you've got a lot of that. Obviously, actually no, that was in Switzerland. Sorry, that was in Bern. So you've actually got a little bit of historical accuracy in this group. But then Scotland and Germany have always had good matches against each other as well. So we're in a strong element of international football here, boys. We're in a strong element of international football. Any last comments you want to add in this one before we move on to Group B and the end of Julio?
Just one, actually. I just had a quick peek at Germany and Hungary's last group for the last Euros. France finished top with 5 points.
Yes,
Germany finished second with 4. Portugal finished third with 4. Hungary finished bottom with only 2 points. But I think I already mentioned this earlier, that at one point Hungary were like second or top based on how results were going and stuff. And I feel like we'll have it. I think it will be like that.
Yep.
In this group. Also, the one thing on McTominay killing it in the Euros, I hope certain clubs haven't learned from the mistakes of never buying players after an international tournament. Because if it looks like we really want to get rid of McTominay, probably if he kills it at the Euros would be the best chance.
We will come to this I agree. We will come to this very shortly, Vicky. We will come to this very shortly about the shit show that is the Man United players. Don't worry. We certainly will be coming to that, because we've all got something to say about them. Believe me. We normally do. Group B, Mr. Morgan.
Let's go for it. Spain, Croatia, Italy, Albania. What you could say, another group of death.
I think this is the real group of death.
This is the group of death.
Yeah. I think the most exciting group is Group A. This is the group of death. Okay, I'm going to give this one to, well, ironically, even though I've got one representative in this group, I'll give this one to Julio to kick us off. So on you go.
Do you know what? I had a funny feeling we'd get a tough group. I kept saying, I want an easy group, but I was worried we'd get a tough group, because you saw some of the quality that weren't in like pot 1 and pot 2.
Mm.
And now we're here. I think it was our good friend Reece that pointed out that we have the same group as Ireland did in Euro 2012. I think they had Spain, Croatia, and Italy as well. Then,
Yes.
what we've got is we have no tournament experience. Only one tournament, which was Euro 2016. We finished third, thankfully, but it wasn't enough to qualify into the knockouts. But we come lacking in tournament experience.
That's
Spain, winners, we saw what Spain did 10 or so years ago. Croatia, we've seen what they can be like in tournaments. Forget what they're like in qualifiers. They really they tend to show up, especially in recent years. And even though Italy aren't as fully fledged as they were maybe at the last tournament, especially now under Spalletti, it's still Italy. There's still quality there, and we still need to be wary. I hope that, because we play Italy first, then we play Croatia, then we play Spain. Ideally, you want it sorted by the end of the Croatia game. Whether it
Agreed.
will, I think this group goes to the final game. I actually think the last group, the Group A, goes to the final game as well. I really hope that Silvino, the coach, along with Zabaleta by his side, I really hope that they look at it and they prepare properly, because this is different. This isn't like the last tournament where we had a manager who knew we were underdogs, so we played like underdogs. We played France. We defended heroically for 89 minutes without our first choice centre half, and then suddenly we lose 2-0 in the last, in stoppage time, thanks to Griezmann and Dimitri Payet. This time will be a little bit different. I'm not going to sit here and say dark horses. I think that's pushing it. Surprise package, I'm more in hope than belief, because I'm very much a pessimist. Simply because of the fact we're coming into this with so little tournament experience, and you look at the pedigree of the others compared to ours. Granted, we've got nothing to lose, and I feel like we may use that to our advantage. But obviously, my heart is in this one, so I don't want to speak out of turn. I don't want to do anything that might jinx it or jeopardize it. I want to go into this and I want to see my country make me proud. If we get out the group, I'll be happy. Because do
you think your best chance though of getting out is third place?
It's very difficult for me to say that, simply because any one of those teams could finish third place.
Be objective. Look at the whole group when you think about it as a whole, because you've got some serious tournament teams here.
Yeah.
So from an objective speaking, do you think third place is your best option? For me, and I say this even from a Scotland perspective, our best chance is third. If we can get third.
I'll say, because I'm thinking the words best chance, I'm taking them too literally, because obviously, best case scenario, we finish top, but that's never going to happen.
In our groups, you have to think in our groups, so you have to think literally.
Yeah.
You've got to look from the objective speaking.
I'm trying to come from the perspective of the fact that even though Italy won the last Euros, Italy have spent years not being convincing, as have Spain. I won 40 quid off a bet of Spain because of what happened at the World Cup with Morocco. So I think I would agree that third is probably the best way to go, but that's not saying that that's not saying we're definitely going to get third. We could finish bottom. We could finish second. That's what I love and hate about Group of Deaths.
I think when you look at this team, though, I think, Nathan, you might agree, the balanced team's Croatia.
I think so. It's hard to say, because as both guys have alluded to, they do like to turn up in the tournaments. If we look at Euro 2020 to some aspect, World Cup 22, they were strong.
Even
World Cup 2018, they were absolutely superb, especially against England as well. It's hard to say, but Never
And they've
usually
managed to
strongly
keep-
qualifying, but from what I've seen in particular, I know Wales haven't been up to the races, or we all know that by a mile, but
long stretch.
the amount
yes.
of red flags in this Croatia side do worry me a lot. And I think
the
style of play
one
comes
thing
into
is
it.
core. I think core group
Yeah.
is will it shape at this point in the Euros. I think the good thing is those. Ironically, they've done what Joachim Low wanted to do with Germany. He's the current manager of Croatia. I'm not sure who it is, but the current Croatia manager has managed to bring in a new blood
Who is the current
while
manager?
still. Let's have a look. Zlatko Dalic. Okay, so still him. I thought he left.
How long's he
I
been
thought
there
he-
for now, actually?
I thought he left the job. Didn't he not go into club football?
No, he's been there
Nice.
since 2017.
Hmm.
Oh wow.
Let me just check on the bottom.
And yet he likes to play the style of football that's just, well, organised, but nothing else. Okay. So, either way, they've been able to phase out some players, but also bring in a new guard that still keeps the likes of Modric fresh, which is crazy.
For me, that's key because, in particular, watching them, like losing your main stars, Mandzukic, Brozovic, that you've really relied on in the last couple of tournaments. I mean, Modric is there to link it up, but at the end of the day, ex-Ballon d'Or winner, no matter what team you put around him, regardless of if they're playing for Hand Split or if they're sort of Conference League, Europa League standard players, he's going
They're
to
all
link it
getting
up
in
well.
there.
Exactly.
Yeah, and they're all playing really good football, and I think that's helped Croatia become such a consistent squad that's taken them somewhere. The first game is in Berlin, but then their final game's at Leipzig's home ground. That's not an easy atmosphere, but when you look at stadium-wise, Italy versus Albania, and the hardest one of them all in the out the stadiums, they're going to Dortmund's ground. That's no easy feat in front of the yellow wall. The Germans will be there to watch this game. Like, obviously, they'll be keeping an eye out if they get through. They'll be keeping an eye on these teams. The one team Germany will want is a sense of revenge. The Germans will want the Italians.
Yeah.
For 2006, they will be paying close attention. German fans will be in that stadium, 100%. It's will the Italians come in the strong suit and under Spalletti when they really need to, when they started okay under Spalletti, but they haven't kicked on. But they still played some decent football.
They
I
could
think
kick
with
on at the
Italy as
tournament.
well, they're going to have to, especially with the disappointment of what you could say has been the 2010s.
Yeah,
And aside from winning, because they are the holders,
they've only had one good
aside from Euro
tournament.
2020, I mean, it's not even having bad tournaments. It's failing to qualify for tournaments. I mean,
Which
what
is
have we had?
shocking.
Euro 20, World Cup 22, World Cup 2018, what was it? World Cup 2014. I don't even think they were good.
Welcome
They
to
got they were out in
shocking.
the groups, weren't they?
They
were
were.
Yeah,
knocked out
that
in
was
the
the-
groups.
That was the group that had Uruguay and England.
Hmm.
In the Euros as well, just remember that, just 2 years before, they beat the best team in the planet. Well, in my opinion, the best team in the planet, even though Spain went on to win it. They beat the best placed team on the
Germans.
planet in the Germans in the semi-finals when they didn't deserve it. To then go and get smashed 4-0 in a final. Like, who gets beat like that in a final? No big
Considering
team
they
gets beat like that.
drew in the first game of the tournament, the two teams were in the group together in Spain and
I know.
Italy.
And then the final, Spain just went, well, if that's how you want to play it, then here you go, and they absolutely smashed them. The fact that those two teams though play each other in the second game is massive. But Italy, it's not a long journey. They're already playing in that area anyway, in the Ruhr region. They're now going to Schalke Stadium. It's a big game, and that's going to be, will the Italians actually want to dominate the game, or will they let Spain have the ball? Because Italy under Spalletti will want to dominate the ball. Not going to lie, that's going to be a very contrasting game of style. What's up, bud?
Can I just make a comment about Croatia quickly?
Mm-hmm.
Forgive my words, but fuck Rob Page, the Wales coach.
We all know why.
Everything the guy does just annoys me. If the guy knew how to actually manage a national team, but he can't, he's the wrong guy
Michael
in
Beale's
the
available.
right place at the right time, Wales would have qualified automatically, and Wales would be in this group instead of Croatia. Not saying this because maybe Wales might be easier. It would just be a genuine bit of laughs if me and Nathan had the same group.
I actually think so.
But we
Because
don't.
at the end of the day, from the
I'd be
Northampton
sitting back
Town
laughing.
days, all we've had this. Well, everyone knows the story from the last couple of years, but yeah, it would have
Just-
been absolutely
The guy
hilarious.
isn't good. How do you lose 5-0? How do you go to Northampton Town after a half-decent job at Port Vale? You get sacked after 6 months. You take over from Chris Wilder, by the way. You get sacked because he's gone to Sheffield United, and you've got a promotion team that a year after he goes gets relegated. Then somehow you're in the Wales setup, and then somehow you've got, because someone did something wrong somewhere, suddenly you're in the Wales management gig.
Mhm.
Like, it was the
That's
wrong
football.
guy, but for him, right place, right time.
Football.
He couldn't have timed that any better, and now he's gone and done this.
I know. Football, innit? It's madness.
I will
That's
say one
theoretically-
more bold take with this group as well. Whoever finishes third doesn't get into the knockout stage.
This
will be
does
the
feel
bottom
like
two.
that group.
Bingo. Because there's going to be so many low points.
Yeah.
If you had to pick one right now, boys, we'll come to our main predictions. Like our predictions at the end. We're just going to do like a quick fire predictions at the very end, like our first like preliminaries before the final. As I said, the final tournament friendlies. But if you had to pick the team that finishes first and fourth, who are you picking? I'm going to say, and this might shock you, I'm not going bias here. I've got, unfortunately, I do have Albania fourth. Sorry, Phil, I just do. But the team I actually have winning the group is actually Croatia.
Balls. Interestingly, I have the complete opposite.
I have Croatia, then Italy. I think Spain might finish third in this group.
Wow.
Mhm.
For me, Italy are winning it. And I think
If they
it's just,
turn up strong, though,
they
if they-
have to turn up.
yeah, if they turn up strong to start the tournament, then they've got a chance. I just think the way that Croatia squad is so balanced, it just gives me a sense of like that balance really will kick in, and it's quite freaky.
Fair point. I think they're finishing bottom. Just from what and that's from what I've seen. Because I think they're coming into it with not great momentum. And the fact that with the way they've been playing, unless they just click with the friendlies and get it all right in between now and the tournament, they should. But it's entirely dependent.
This is a very scary group to predict.
Yeah.
Right, Group C. Yeah, we're going to spend 2 minutes on this group. We already know who's winning this group. It's piss easy. England will get 9 points. Serbia will finish second. Denmark finish third, and Slovenia finish fourth. That's it. It's just a piss easy squad. And I'll say this: if Anthony Gordon doesn't decide to go to the Scotland, like doesn't decide to take the Scotland opportunity, and he doesn't get picked for Euro 2024, then he's an absolute melt. Because he walks into that Scotland team for Euro 2024. He's an absolute melt. And I reckon Southgate will still pick Marcus Rashford ahead of him.
I think so. And to add another thing before we move on very quickly as well, I think that, well, it pains me to say, when England win this group, the media are going to be unbearable because it's probably going to be 9 out of 9.
I think they will. But I think they'll struggle against Serbia, though. I think they'll struggle against Serbia.
They'll still grind
England
it,
will do what England had an easy group of the World Cup, and they ballsed it up and only finished with what, 7 points?
Yeah.
England
still strong shooting though.
England did the same at the Euros. They'll do the same in this Euros. They'll only finish 7 points. I'm never going to be convinced of England. The only time I've been convinced they could win it was at the last Euros, but it came down to, granted, they beat a Finnish German side who had only won, I think, 2 games all year against lowly opposition. But
and Joachim Low kept changing the system
But
the
the only reason I counted that as a win of some kind was because it overcame that German barrier. England versus Germany, there was always going to be a mental barrier in the big games. England if this was prime Germany, no, England were never going to beat them.
Normal service will soon resume. Don't worry. Normal service will soon resume.
Then when they were actually in the final against Italy
They bottled
at
it.
Wembley, and the way it started, you would have thought maybe they can go on and win it. Not they're going to win it. Because they did.
How they bottled it, I'll never know.
3 years to the day to what happened with Croatia, the same thing happened again. You take an early lead, you don't kill the game off, you try and park the bus for the whole second half, you concede around the hour mark, and then it goes past into extra time and you lose in a very heartbreaking manner. Croatia 2018, Italy 2021. England may as well do the same thing again. Part of me wishes they won't, but the media bring it on themselves. They're going to hype England up beyond belief. I still don't think Southgate has it to win. But then part of me thinks that maybe because he knows it's going to be his last tournament, he'll go all out.
Mm-hmm.
I think if England are going to win it, I think the only thing they do is they sack Southgate just before the tournament, appoint Jose, and then Jose or Pep. And if it's Jose, he won't mess around to the point where he annoys everyone inside 8 games. So you get a nice, happy, charming Jose for 8 games, has them playing like prime Real Madrid of 11-12, and they win the damn thing. But
they still win. They still win the Euros with Jose Mourinho in charge. They still win it. There's a mental block in there. They just can't do it.
The fact of the matter is, England may look like they've got an easy group. They don't. Denmark have proved a difficult fixture over the years. I think Serbia and Slovenia will turn up, especially against England.
I think Denmark are fading fast. To be fair, I think Denmark are fading fast.
No, but this is England we're talking about. This will be more about England than Denmark, and I just think that England played a very average USA side in the World Cup, just about a year ago now, and they drew 0-0. England should have done this exactly the same as what they did against Iran and Wales. They should have walked that game. Forget whether you think the US could have posed a threat of any kind. England on paper, with expectation, and you see who they have, they should have been doing better.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we'll see the exact same thing again.
I think so.
And it's a win-win for me, because if they prove me wrong, it means England won it. It's come home. Football's come home, etc., etc., etc. Great. I'm down for the piss up when that happens. That's literally
I'm definitely not.
No, it'd be unbearable.
Otherwise,
oh my God.
If it doesn't happen, I'm right. So it's a win-win for me.
Yeah. Group D. Okay, so at the moment we don't know who the playoff winner is going to be, but I think we can all assume, in the nicest way possible, that team is still finishing bottom of the group, because they're generally not, compared to the other teams in the group, they're not as strong and they're not as organised, and they don't play better football.
I have
except maybe Holland, because Holland are shit.
I call me biased, but I actually think that out of the 4 teams, the only one that's able to finish at least third is Wales. And I know I'm going to get laughs in the comments for this.
Well, hang on a minute.
That
could depend more on Netherlands being bad.
It does, because I think, considering how we played, because bear in mind that we were in the same Nations League group as the Netherlands, and we had 2 very close games against them. And in fact, the one at home, we should have actually won until we completely bottled it when Rob Page completely messed the tactics up. And we just refused to defend for the last, after 88 minutes? So we could have had that. For me, this is the most crucial one.
I don't think anyone
to get to the World Cup.
I don't think anyone wants to play Austria. I don't think anybody genuinely wants to play Austria, apart from the French.
One reason for that, Rolf Rangnick.
Yeah. They are so much better under him. They are.
To be fair, France won that convincing in the last Euros, especially in the groups.
But no, they were actually convincing in the groups. The problem for France in that group though, and the outcome though, was they just let opportunity come at them too much, and that's what went wrong. But they were
Who
still
was
the
it they
more
struggled
strong.
against? Was it Hungary they
Portugal.
struggled against?
They struggled against Hungary until the very end.
Yeah, they drew. But in fact, they drew with Portugal and Hungary, didn't they? And then they beat Germany, who
By a
weren't
single
prime
goal.
Germany.
Mm.
But then Germany turned up and pumped Portugal like they normally do. Because Germans always own the Portuguese, but the Portuguese won't admit that.
Euro 2012. What a throwback.
Nah, World Cup 2014 even better.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Mullered them.
To be fair, if all I'll say is just this.
I had to get that one in.
I see
to
what
get
you
the
did
full-
there. That was brilliant. I'll give you that one.
But to be fair though, I'm not wrong though, because Thomas Muller absolutely ruined Portugal at the World Cup that year. He ruined them. It was like watching amateurs versus. Actually, it was like watching prime Muhammad Ali versus an out of shape Ricky Hatton.
Mm.
Hmm.
You already know who's won that fight, and it's definitely prime Ali, because they were absolutely rioting the Portuguese. In the same circumstance, Portugal went a goal up after Germany should have scored. The goal was offside. The Portuguese got cocky, scored, and they thought it was over, and then they got pumped.
They did.
I don't remember seeing Ronaldo play that night. I think the obvious expectation, though, is, gents, is France theoretically should get maximum points. I think they're one of the few teams in this entire tournament for the group stage where you would say they are nailed on for 9 out of 9.
I think so. And adding that to France, I mean, as a Wales perspective, this scares the life out of me. Considering, look who the home side is, and look who's going to have the yellow wall.
Yep, exactly.
I mean, put us on the yellow wall, we'll just be incredible, and might spirit a little bit. But at the end of the day, the last time we played France, I'm pretty sure Mbappe he scored a hat trick against us, and he was ridiculous. So that's all you need to know.
Us. He murdered us. He murdered Holland. He murdered you guys. He murdered the English. I mean, Mbappe just owns the UK and Ireland. Like, you may as well just give him the keys to the 10 Downing Street.
I think so.
The big one though. The big one though. Red Bull Arena.
Yes.
Holland versus Leipzig. Holland versus France in Leipzig. On the East German side, where France are hated. Less than the Dutch. Obviously, we know that the Dutch are absolutely hated in Germany, but still, this is huge. I think you'll be looking for a bloodbath.
I think so. Another thing I'd like to bring in as well. Are we potentially looking at another no qualify for position 3?
Yeah. I think so.
For me, it depends on the Netherlands.
Mm-hmm.
And who turns up. And also, as well, this is huge.
I don't think either of the playoff teams stand a theoretically good chance.
No one gets top 2 in that.
No chance.
No one gets top 2 in that. Third is pushing it based on how badly someone above does.
And in addition to that as well, it depends who and what. I mean, biggest example, Finland, I cannot see it. Poland have been woeful, and Estonia, just looking at them when we're in qualifiers with them.
Poland changed manager earlier this year to see if they could snatch that qualification of some kind.
Exactly. They're relying on Nations League, I'm pretty sure, just like the Welsh.
Just overall not impressive to watch. They've never been good, Poland. They've never been good to watch. They've never played good football. I mean, I already saw it coming a long time ago.
I mean, they're so top heavy as a team as well.
Yeah. It's embarrassing. So I think in all circumstances we're agreeing, unless Holland play like shit, it's France top, playoff winner bottom, unless something massively goes wrong again for the Dutch.
I think so.
Yeah.
The only way that I'll spin it, and that's obviously being biased, is if Wales qualify for the tournament and Wales become Wales, I think we sneak a win against Austria from historical performances.
It's possible. It is possible. Right. Next one. Group E.
Yeah, so this is
I think-
Bosnia, Ukraine, Israel, Iceland, for anyone wondering as well. And at the moment, I think there's your most likely.
I think we can all agree when you look at the group that we all have the same opinion. Skip. This is a group not even worth watching.
Reece, I reckon your favourite player will be the top scorer in this group with 5 goals.
What, Giannis
No,
Hadji?
Lukaku.
I actually think Jeremy Doku will be the top goal scorer in this group.
I think it'll be a breakout tournament for him, considering
It
what
will
we've
be.
seen within the city. And I think I said about him a few years ago as well, that in the next couple of tournaments, and if he gets a good move, he'll be dominant.
He was listed. Remember when we done that? When we discussed Belgium's exit for the World Cup, and we did that. I read out that article of the likeliest team for Belgium at the World Cup in 2026. Doku was one of the players even for in that squad. There's another player in that squad that I do rate, and I think he will come into his own if he's in this squad under Tedesco, is Varskaren. What
He's a quality
brilliant player. I really do rate him. I think he's a good player. But Romania as well with Giannis Hadji is still a strong player, especially in a technical sense. He's similar to like Hamšík when Hamšík carried Slovakia. He could carry Romania.
I think
He's got something there that can certainly do it.
Are we also going to say Slovakia going to third in this group?
I think Slovakia finished third if the playoff winner is not Israel. I think if Israel win the playoff, Israel finish third.
Good shout. And I think with speaking about Belgium as well, getting into them, because got to get into them, they're out in round of 16 for me.
Oh yeah, they'll get 9 points and then they'll get
100%.
eliminated.
Yeah, it's just
They will get maximum points. They will get maximum points and then flop. Group F. Okay. I'm gonna go on a limb here. Only one team in this entire group is interesting,
Portugal.
and that's Portugal. Yeah, they're the only team that's actually interesting because they've completely changed.
For me,
Under
the
Roberto
game
Martinez, they're playing good football.
I don't think they'll win it though.
I think they're one of the favourites, but I agree.
They're one of
they
the
won't win
favourites,
this
but they'll do what they do all the time. They will disappoint, just not as much as they have done before. I don't think they'll win it.
I agree with it. I think they will disappoint, but they're still top in this group for me.
Oh, 100%.
Turkey, I am not impressed by at all.
The groups aren't in question for Portugal. They qualify. They qualify for the knockouts regardless. It depends. Like, obviously, we'll do a full-on prediction and given it time. But I just
don't worry.
They may make the semis. They might not. They might not even make it past round of 16.
Their most important game in the group though is in Dortmund, match day 2 against Turkey.
Ooh, that's gonna be hostile.
Very. I see some sparks. I think when you look at this group, I think not only will Portugal have the best number for goals, but across the whole group stage, Portugal have the best defence because they had the best defence in qualifying as well. I think they will carry that into the tournament. They will have the best defence in the whole tournament, even before they get eliminated. They will still have the best defence. Martinez has gotten them genuinely playing really good football. It's genuinely funny how he's made them play good football. Like, I still don't understand it because he didn't play good football with Belgium. So how's he done this with Portugal?
That's a fair point.
Yeah. Who do you think's going through second, lads? I think it's the Czechs. Even
I
if
think
I don't
it's
rate
Czechs
them.
as well. And do
I
you
don't
want to
rate
know one thing? They have some quality in there. I am not impressed by Turkey, and in fact, I think they're going to finish bottom. And spoiler alert,
I don't think it roasted.
playoff
I
winner
don't think it
C, I
roasted.
think, is going to be Greece. They have some class players in there, and I
It's
just
them or Georgia. I'd
Exactly.
like to see Kvaratskhelia get to the Euros though, just to see Napoli fans cry potentially because their big player will be under that massive spotlight and he might get sold
yeah.
because a club will be like, nah, shit, we need this lad. So
Do you
I
guys
hope he goes
remember-
for that
Well,
reason.
he will carry Georgia as well, but
Do you guys remember
He'll
the
do
last
Hampshire.
tournament when they all said Turkey was dark horses? Before it
We all
started,
said
everyone was
on
like,
the-
Turkey are dark horses.
We all did. We all
Minus-
did on this podcast. On this podcast, we all went in saying that Turkey were going to do something.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
We even said it on
Minus
the
me.
we even done it on the first. Although the first watch along was absolutely beautiful because we all done the watch along drinking beer, watching Italy slap the Turks.
it's wicked.
It felt good to be drinking whilst talking about Turkey.
I think as well with Turkey, obviously in Wales's group, they got to this tournament because everyone else was so bad
Hmm.
in that
They're
qualifying
in your
campaign.
group, weren't they?
Croatia were terrible,
Yes,
Wales
they
were
were.
terrible. Armenia did what they could, but Turkey still grind out results against them. And then less said about Latvia. So in general, they were the best
Best
out
of
of
a
the
bad
worst.
bunch.
Yeah. So they are
Yeah.
absolutely finishing bottom.
Yes.
And it's not even like they're
Absolutely.
playing good football or anything.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Group G.
That's it.
Oh wait, no, that's the last group. How
That
many
is the
groups
last
have we
group.
got? Is it 6 groups?
I think so.
Yeah, but bear in mind, what
That's
is
not
it? Third place teams.
Yeah, 6 groups.
That is very small groups. There was what 8 groups last time. Have they reduced the numbers?
Yeah,
no,
but
there's
Reece,
always
think
been this
about it.
many.
Think about it. 2 qualified from 6 groups. That's 12, and then the top 4 third place teams. That makes the round of 16.
Oh, also, I
I-
apologies to jump in. I have some breaking news.
Go on.
Coming out of the championship on Manager Watch, I've got to get into it now. Swansea have sacked Michael Duff.
Really?
Yes. Just going to
Okay.
read out the statement, and as much as I hate going onto their website, I'm going to do it now. Swansea City can confirm the club has parted company with head coach Michael Duff. Assistant head coach Martin Patterson has also left the club with immediate effect, with fellow assistant head coach Alan Sheehan assuming the role of caretaker head coach for an interim period. God, I can't speak. Lots of change on and off the pitch. I consistently asked for patience as we gave him time to implement his plan to bring the squad together. Unfortunately, long story short, they haven't seen the results. They've sacked him. It's a very long statement.
Wow.
Yeah, but
so
who's
they
gonna
basically
come
said
in?
their man. So they basically said their manager was shit.
Exactly. And not only that as well, I think
that's serious accountability. That's serious accountability. Your manager's shit, so we've sacked them.
it is. I think another thing that comes into it as well is, and it comes to the fact that they're a very hipster club, adding it into
Oh
it,
my god.
they are crying because they hate the style of play. And that's another
course.
reason why they haven't given him time.
Yeah, but
Because they're
to
not
be
getting
fair,
75% possession. He's out the door. I know they're in 20th position.
to be fair, I was going to say, like, if Duff was winning, if they're on the playoff spots, this wouldn't happen. I think they
I
would have
think
been
it would.
happy with the results.
Honestly,
Personally,
in my personal opinion, as I know I'm coming from a biased point of view, I think there would have been rumblings if they were still about 12th. Because look at the way they were treating Cooper at times. They were
Yeah.
they were consistently in the playoffs and saying they hated the style of play and that, we'd rather lose and play pretty football. I know it's not for all Swansea fans, but I'm focusing on the core hipster lot of it.
does this come from the American ownership, though, to an extent?
I don't think it does, because of the amount of supporter pressure to get rid of him.
I think we all know, lads, who the best person is to take the job. Swansea.
Nathan Jones?
I think we all. No, we all know who the real.
To be
man
fair,
is for
that would be an
Swansea.
absolute theatre.
Give
Put
me
in a
Michael
Ron
Beale
Boy.
at Swansea.
I mean, Graham Potter is literally free.
He will be in Italy soon, I think.
Really?
I also think as well that Potter doesn't go back there.
I think Potter goes Italy. I
Just
genuinely
with
think
the
he does.
departure and everything.
Potter goes Italy, and he might end up becoming a better manager than he actually could be. I think they'll teach him how to defend properly, which would be interesting. Okay, so quick fire predictions then. These ones don't count. These are just like our look in before we get to the tournament. So groups groups A to F. We'll just fire them again. So
Let's go back
we'll
to
just
the top.
so we'll just give our our first to fourth. Do we think a team's going through as third place in either group? Yes or no? And we'll do that. So for me, Germany, Hungary, Switzerland, Scotland. I do think Scotland might not make it, but I think Scotland's best chance though is third. So fuck Switzerland. So Scotland in third, Switzerland fourth. And I think Scotland do get out if they're finished third.
For me, swap around Scotland and Hungary, and you've got the group, and Scotland get through in third.
Very interesting. Same format pretty much as myself.
Yeah.
Okay. Julio?
It's so difficult. Germany second.
Yes. That's possible.
Germany second.
I reckon you're gonna go weird. I think you're gonna go wild. I think you're gonna say Switzerland win the group. I think you've been contemplating. I think you're contemplating Switzerland win this group.
Yeah, and I think I'll put Scotland in third. For now. This may change in next time you ask me.
When it really matters. Yep.
Yeah.
The final squads will determine our predictions. When we see the final squads named for the tournament, that's when we'll do our real predictions.
I agree.
Yep. This one, okay. For me, Croatia, Italy, Spain, Albania at the moment. But I don't think Albania lose every game.
I'm going to go balls.
Well, thanks for that, Reece. Very kind of you.
I think he's lose one game.
For me, this is going to go Italy, Spain, Albania, Croatia. But the third place team, sorry Julio, doesn't get there.
That would be absolutely beautiful.
Oh,
we will be doing. I think what we'll do as well for the first games of the respective groups, like the ones that matter to us, we will do watch along. So we'll do a watch along of Italy, Albania. We will do Scotland, Germany. We'll just all kick back and watch. And we'll just watch maybe Portugal roast a team across the tournament. Who knows? Group C, England's group. I've got England top. Not that it matters anyway, because I think we all know that. So for me, England, Serbia, Denmark, Slovenia, playoff goes through. Sorry, third place goes through.
I'm going exactly the same as Reece, but England will not get maximum points in this group.
No, they won't. They won't get maximum points. I've got England, Denmark, Serbia, Slovenia.
And the playoff, does third place go for you, or do they not get through?
For me, they do in this one.
Not in this one.
Okay, so Julio says no. Nathan says yes. Remember, only 4 third place teams can go through. So, sorry, 4 from 3. So I've said Group A and I've said Group C. Group D, which means pretty much now I need to decide on my last 2 groups who's going through or not. So, France, Austria, Netherlands, playoff winner A. France to win it. Austria second. Netherlands third. Playoff winner. I think playoff winner goes fourth. And I'm going to say here, no. Third place doesn't go from this group either.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
if this is Wales, because I'm going to take it two different ways on this one, call me biased as everyone says, France to top the group on maximum points.
Yep.
Then I'm going to say the Dutch finish second, but it's tight, with playoff winner A being Wales third and Austria finishing bottom. However, if it's anyone else, if, say, for example, Wales bottle it, which I also think Rob Page will be sacked. And saying that as well, Rob Page will be sacked if we finish bottom.
Oh, I can't wait! I can't wait for the edition of the show when that happens.
I can't wait as well. But I wish Wales do well, and it pains me to say it, but at the end of the day, it means we've done well. Hopefully, you'll stay in the job.
I do think Austria will. I think Austria, in terms of like coach-wise style of play, the squad they've got, I don't think Netherlands are good enough to stop them.
Austria have the perfect combo.
Yeah.
The players and the coaching and the philosophy.
Netherlands have a lot of red flags.
I don't see a
Not
single
even red flags.
flag in
They're
Austria.
they're crimson.
Yeah.
It's like a parade of crimson flags.
Blood. It's blood red flags.
That's how bad it seems for the Netherlands.
Yeah, and it's because they abandoned their style. Like, they completely abandoned it. Group. Our next group. This is Belgium's group. I've just realised what I've done. I said no in the last group. That means I need to give third place in this group. And that means I have the last group as third place as well. Oh, jeez. Yeah, my opinions might change at a later date, folks.
Yeah, we're winging it right now. We haven't put any thought into this, let's be honest.
Yep. Quite easy. Swap Slovakia with Romania, and that's how the group goes. Unless it's Georgia. Because Georgia's and Portugal's one.
Yeah. Yes.
So yeah, swap Romania with Slovakia, and that's how the group goes for me.
Yeah, this will probably be Bosnia, so I'm going to agree with Reece. And in fact, third place is going through on this one.
I'm going bold. Belgium top the group. Playoff winner B gets second, then Slovakia, then Romania.
Interesting.
This man hates Romania. What a bastard.
I actually don't. I don't know where you got this from.
Bias. You hate the Romanians. Right.
Oh no, I hate the Serbians. We hate the Serbians. That's bias.
This is where it gets exciting.
So we've got scrubs, playoffs, Portugal, mid. Okay. Swap first with third. Fourth replaces second, but Turkey finished bottom of the group for absolute banner.
Portugal again, maximum points for me. Czech Republic sneak it in, well, dominate in second. Greece, I think, will finish third, but Greece-Turkey is going to be amazing either way. And if that's correct, that's going to be in Dortmund's ground on the 18th, first game of the group, which will set the zone. And Turkey, calling it now, are finishing bottom on 0 points.
That would be music to my ears.
And third place doesn't get through.
After what they did at the last Euros, when we thought they would actually give us something as underdogs, as dark horses, where we thought actually, they can do something, they ruined it. So that would be beautiful. I think that's all the groups, isn't it?
That is.
Okay, so 1 hour, 10 minutes of beauty. Let's get on to the next bit. The topic that everybody hates. The Prem. Because the Prem is just a clusterfuck right now. But where do we start? I think we should talk about Liverpool, despite winning against Fulham. Another bottle job performance by Liverpool.
The complacency really shone in. And I do think as well they were relying, for me, massively on that Trent free kick. I know it went down as a Leno own goal. But it just feels that they're relying on moments like that. And I will say it again, and I'll keep it very brief on it. Fulham have been slow start, but they're starting to build back into it from where they left off last season. But for me, with Liverpool, get Trent in midfield and sign a right back in January.
We've been saying, like, even though we absolutely hate them, and I hate the fact that we're always right, we've been saying Trent Alexander-Arnold should be a midfielder on this podcast since its inception.
Yes.
I know I have. He has the makings of a midfielder.
And not only that as well, I was watching, and I have to agree with him, and I'm going to say it was Irish guy. His point that if this was 2000s Premier League, Trent would have been an unreal winger in a 4-4-2.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because he would have been a right midfielder, and it would have been the perfect blend for him.
It would have.
He would have been in that Steve McManaman role before McManaman went to Real Madrid. He's that type of like winger. I would agree on that one.
I also think with the way that Klopp's system works as well, Trent sort of covered up defensively, so you can't fully see. If for me, if he was playing in a Pep system, a Pep 4-3-3, call me absolutely deluded, whatever. Or if it was in a 4-4-2, say for example, Sean Dyche randomly took over, or any other manager in this league, Trent would be exposed.
Oh yeah, and I would love to see it.
And me, because we've been saying it all this time that he's the best right back in the world who can't defend.
He's the best right back in the world that can't play football. He is so overrated.
He is.
And the fact is now he's been called world class.
For me, I hate that narrative.
Where is the world class about him? I mean, he's got a world class haircut because nobody fucking wants it. But Jesus Christ, he ain't that good. But yeah, that's another. It's another performance by Liverpool with it doesn't matter the opposition they're playing right now. And I know that's a bit rich coming from a United fan, where we kind of beat anybody convincingly right now. But Liverpool are generally supposed to be better than Man United right now, based on what's the narrative of the recent years. But when you look at Liverpool play, they've generally really poor. Julio, your thoughts on Liverpool?
I've been saying for weeks that like Liverpool don't have a structure in midfield. It's not convincing. They'll outscore you. That's why Liverpool are. People will say that Liverpool are in it for the title, but that comes down to the fact that they've got goals in them. It's almost like it's like, oh, you want to score 3? It's okay, we'll score 4. And the difference Liverpool have over maybe the likes of Arsenal is the fact that some of the players actually have a Premier League winners medal, albeit in a year where fans didn't get to see them lift it live. But the fact remains, obviously, that they're not convincing. If you're going to put Trent in midfield, I still think you need a holding midfielder. Trent's not going to be that holding midfielder, and I think that you get the right back as well. So they're not convincing enough. I think when it comes to it, they can get really cut open. So they're not as stable as they used to be.
Yeah.
How much as well is this Andy Robertson injury affecting them? Would you reckon as well, bringing Tsimikas in? Because I think, Van Dijk, aside from being quite error prone, I do rate him as a centre back, and the partnership with Matip works all right. And then bringing in Konate, Joe Gomez, etc., etc.
Across that back four, they don't have adequate replacements. Even a partner for Van Dijk, all his partners are injury prone. That entire defense. Yeah, exactly.
I said last week that entire defense is injury prone.
And it's also
Van Dijk maybe prolongs how long he's in the team, but everyone else keeps changing every week, it seems. And then when you look at the fullback spots, you take out Trent or Robertson, who are you putting in? For years, Klopp was shoehorning James Milner at right back, for example, or Joe Gomez. Not out and out replacements. They've got a young player in there, but we never see him. So they don't actually have an adequate replacement. Tsimikas was
I'm gonna
signed
go-
almost as a backup off the back of a good Europa League campaign with Olympiacos in that summer
Yep.
tournament. But he's not an adequate replacement for Robertson.
For me, that
I'm gonna go on
stubborncy
a
came
limb.
through as well. I will say it was from when Robertson was signed from Hull. Look how long it took him to play him over Alberto Moreno, considering some of the performances. I mean, if that doesn't show Klopp's stubborncy when it comes to his defences, says it all. Like, even when Van Dijk got that massive transfer from Southampton, straight away, bang, major mistake. Look how long it took for him to get consistent.
I'm going to go on a limb as well and saying that Liverpool actually miss Trent Alexander-Arnold less than they do Robertson. I think they miss Robertson a lot more than
I don't
Trent.
think that's going out on a limb, Reece. I actually think that's pure facts.
It is.
It's a conversation
not
people
biased.
don't really have because they don't think about, but it's genuine because
When I look at them, I think if you look at it from that perspective, from that Liverpool team, I would rather have Trent Alexander, and I don't wish injuries on anybody, but I would rather have Trent injured or Trent suspended than Andy Robertson. He is so much better. He's a better creator.
For years,
He's a better defender. He's more hardworking,
Yeah.
and he's a better pro. He does bitch a lot, but he's a much better pro than Trent Alexander-Arnold is.
yeah, well, for years, to be fair, the way the system worked, you'd see Fabinho cover a lot of Trent going forward. There's no Fabinho, and now you really see how bad Trent is defensively.
And Robertson never realistically needed anybody to marshal his position. When you look at it,
Another
'cause
thing
they
that
knew that
Klopp
Robertson
also
could cover
did,
it.
which I think I can't remember what time the substitutes happened. Who changes their entire midfield in a Premier League game?
No one, not even Pep does that.
No. I mean, that was just screaming for a disaster. I mean, McAllister got that amazing goal before he gets taken off. He was building for a game like this, and I thought bringing the confidence into it worked really well. But I'm sorry, when you bring Szoboszlai off, who's had an absolutely superb season, you can tell they went defensive because Gomez, Endo, and Kanate all came on. What a disaster that is.
Even though Endo did score, they really did not do well by him in the way they brought him straight into the game. I think that's just a tall reflection of Liverpool.
I think so, and they would, at the end of the day, they were chasing their tails on it.
Yeah,
Just to crawl back.
absolutely. Oh yeah, you're right. Before we get to United, I think we'll talk about one last game that really stood out. Man City bottle job. Again, they also, like Liverpool, they bottled. Even though Liverpool did win, Man City didn't. They both had bottle job performances. Man City did bottle it against Tottenham. Again, what is it with Tottenham and Man City? What is it with Man? They just can't seem to beat them. What do you think, Julio?
I'm not surprised. I think Son scoring against City we knew that was going to happen.
Yep.
Spurs were a little bit lucky in the first half in the essence of the fact that City could have had 4 goals easily. And maybe on another day they would have done. But they didn't, and credit to Spurs. They got 3-3. But I think we all knew City would drop a little bit this season. A little bit, based on the fact, obviously, they won the treble and it happens. But to be fair, even at this point last season, even in January time last season, they were still dropping points. Like I've mentioned, the example I keep mentioning is obviously Arsenal were 8 points clear, I think, in January. Lost to Everton, dropped another couple of points a week later to Brentford, I think it was. Or maybe I could have gotten that one wrong. City didn't capitalise. They lost to a very mediocre Spurs side without Conte in the bench because he was away.
That's right.
And when Spurs beat Man City then, I think a lot of fans thought Arsenal dropped points and City haven't capitalised. Maybe this could mean that City aren't going to catch them. Now, credit where credit's due, Arsenal still managed to bottle it badly. But City, we always see go on a crazy run, especially now. From about now, City will begin that run that they always seem to go on. This time, 3 years ago, I think they were 9th. They'd just drawn to West Brom, 1-1. Pep literally said, back to basics. We've got to go back to basics. Next thing we know, they're on some mad 20-game unbeaten run. Same thing will happen again.
I think with it this time as well, they are really missing Gundogan.
Yes, they are.
Compared to last season, and why is he playing Akanji in midfield?
I don't understand why.
I know with this system,
Where's
he
Kovacic?
likes to push him forward. Where's Kovacic? Biggest example. Play your strength there, but I think Grealish, not been impressed by him since he's come through. Took his goal sneakily, and
I think that was 26 games without a goal that he ended.
It was
a crazy goal drought. I like Grealish, don't get me wrong, but I think I've always said he's always been in the wrong side.
I agree.
And I just think that
I think it's the way he's been
£100 million player, that's not
well.
good enough.
It's not, and with the way he's going as well, he's going to be one of the biggest flops in Premier League history. Because I know he's won the treble, I know he's done this, I know he's done that, but you take Grealish out of that team, nothing changes.
It doesn't change much. It might even improve. This is the thing with you always get that one dodgy player in an all-star team. For years, I've joked that it was Robertson in the Liverpool side, or one of the centre-backs, or even Jordan Henderson for Liverpool. But when you look at this with Grealish has won trophies since he's been there, but he's not directly contributed to that trophy. Now, I know Gundogan is another level of where he's been clutch in big moments and stuff.
Him and Bernardo Silva, the main two.
Yeah. When you look at other players, it looks like Grealish is being carried by this City team.
Yes.
Whereas before, Grealish at Villa, the rep at Villa, and even to an extent at the last Euros with England, it was almost like he's the guy who can change a game for us. There is no way you're looking at you're not looking at that with Grealish now.
He needs to be doing a certain thing, Grealish. I mean, I don't think he's been awful this year, but I do get your point. I do get your point, lads. I think you're right. I think another thing that's important as well is I think Grealish likes to be the maverick.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people, fans have said the same thing. He's picked the wrong team. He should have went to Man United. And I think that, but again, he's been right by trophies. Vicky's back in. She's made a very interesting comment. I'm bringing it up on screen. Grealish was second half season following points already made by other players. That is correct. You're nailed on. You're completely spot on, V. You're completely spot on. I completely agree with you.
Put this into perspective as well. This is one thing I'd like to put to the panel, and I might be called insane. Say, for example, Grealish never got that move, and he was in that Villa team at the moment. I don't know where he gets in.
He would be class under Unai Emery. That's the scary thing.
Would.
He may get, but saying that, even with the system that he's been playing, I don't think he fits in that team.
What do you think of the comments that Tony Adams, funnily enough, said about Unai Emery? If he was the Arsenal manager last year, they would have won the league when they were top of the league.
It's hard to say because
it's very easy to say something like that with the team Arsenal have, because what you're saying is you're getting a good team that are very nice and tidy, but don't quite have that.
I mean, look at the team,
winning side to it.
Look at the team that
Emery winner manager in there.
Look at the team that Emery had under Arsenal. No manager would have done well with it. I mean,
Arteta had to rip all of that apart to make it successful.
I mean, he was fed the scraps from Arsene Wenger towards the end, and there was no way of getting that team right.
And he still managed to do X, Y, Z, and then they hounded him out for it, which is ridiculous. They got rid of him for that. I was still a shock.
I don't even think that's the reason. I think with it was really poor individual performances, and the signings just completely flopped.
Yeah,
agreed. Those players were an absolute embarrassment.
Yeah, they were. Right, we've got two choices. We either talk the relegation scrap, or we talk another shit show Man United performance.
I know you've been itching for it. Have your Man United take, guys. Go for it.
Yep. Okay. Now, Julio said I'm extra Scottish the other day, which I find very interesting. So
Your
Nathan,
accent
I'm gonna
gets
go to
stronger when you're angry.
Yeah, so Nathan, I'm going to go into full screen, so if any comments come in, I'm giving the floor to you on that one.
Go for it.
Ugh, okay. This is the type of performance where you really want to take people, but like in a centre or field, and you just want to punch them repeatedly. The circumstance of this performance was that no one bothered. Only two players generally showed any sense of interest, in my opinion, and that was Kobe Mainoo and Alejandro Garnacho. I got pelters on a different podcast last night, and Julio will confirm it because he was watching. Because I said not even the likes of Harry Maguire or Luke Shaw impressed me, even though people said they played very well. For me, a defence playing well is if we don't concede. A defence plays well if we actually look convincing at the back. We looked shaky from start to finish. None of them impressed me at all. The attack, very lackadaisical. They were awkward in transition. They were not pressing enough. They stopped working. Especially players like Marcus Rashford, who's shown his true colours. Once and for all, he's shown his true colours for how much he doesn't give a shit. If you're getting dispossessed by Livermento at the touchline in your opponent's own half when you're trying to attack, and then you stop running after you get dispossessed when you're trying to win the ball back, sums you up. Many people are trying to defend Rashford for this. I won't. I think he's a likeable guy, but after that performance, he needs to be dropped. Martial was the least of the sulkiest ones when he came off, but again, what did he do for 60, 75 minutes? Nout. Fernandez, a couple of decent passes, but again, he offered nothing in the game that really showed attack. Scott McTominay does what Scott McTominay does best. Fuck all. Dallo, less said the better. Wan-Bissaka was busy practicing for professional wrestling by not paying attention to football because his performance was just lazy as fuck, and I blame him for the goal more than I blame anyone else. I blame Wan-Bissaka because he should be doing better. He should be switched on. But in a line-set positive, I love the professionalism of Kobe Mainoo, the fact he kept going the whole way for his performance, and Garnacho as well. Even though he wasn't particularly great, he kept going, he kept working, he kept pushing himself, but nobody was working as a team. This is a symbol of a team that is not going to finish Champions League football unless they turn it around. This is a team that's dominated again by headlines, by clicks, by groups that don't want to work together, and it's concerning that we are now in a position where more leaks about the manager losing the dressing room, XYZ, when we saw this before, when Mourinho got sacked when Mourinho got sacked after the Liverpool game, but all these reports came out before that Liverpool game. Vice versa, 5 years later, we're getting the same thing, 4.5, 5 years later. So it makes you wonder where United go from here. And for me, it's the Grand Canyon. Fuck the lot of them, except Garnacho and Kobe Mainoo. Yeah.
In goes the next man. Oop, how do I get you off again?
Select
Julio.
solo layout.
Take the floor.
Oh wow, I'm really giving the floor here. It is starting to feel like the last weeks of pretty much every manager we've had since Sir Alex. I remember what it was like under Jose and under Ole. And I remember that one leak where it came out with Woodward apparently spoke to all the players, asked about like whether they should keep Jose or he should go, and I think only Lukaku and Matic vouched for Jose, whereas everyone else was a bit like. So there is a story that I've brought up before on other shows, and I think Reece was on one of them with me actually. A few years back, there was a story where Werder Bremen players, I think it was at Werder Bremen anyway, they complained to the board about the manager they had at the time. I don't know who was in situ at the time, but they were complaining, I think, about the training and tactics, etc. And what the board did, they gave the manager a new contract, basically to say that, well, he's our guy, we're sticking with him. If you don't like it, Saudi Arabia is waiting for you. You know, that kind of thing is what I want. Ten Hag isn't exempt from any criticism, and we're seeing a lot go wrong. It's very difficult to say anything that hasn't already been said. But one thing I've always stayed consistent is, even if it takes 5 years, stick with the manager, because this dressing room has really bad culture, and a lot of them are so self-entitled. They're already, for each manager that comes in, they're already looking at it like, we know you ain't going to be here that long. We know we're going to outlast you here. So what's the point? And I think that the best way would be, I want to hear this out. I want to hear this theory out. I want to hear it out. But it's really difficult to put into words. I think I'm on board with what Reece has said regarding if, you know, the players, if they're not trying, you know, right now it looks like Ten Hag is the dead man walking. I don't want to talk about the prospect of him losing his job, because I want to back him. In fact, I am backing him till the very end, whenever that is, because these players aren't fit for purpose. We've seen time and time again what these players have done to other managers, and I'm getting sick of it.
I still stand by my point about forcing the league to adapt to him. I still stand by that point. He needs.
I agree with that point. I agree with that point. I think what he's doing, I think he's making a mistake where he's doing what other managers have done, which is, well, I can't do what I want, so I'm just going to adapt to what I have, as opposed to the fact that do your thing, and it's not. It's just really bad, the dressing room. Like, you have to get rid of all these players. It's very difficult to do that, especially at this level. But I think if you want to succeed, this dressing room needs to be completely gutted, because these players just aren't good enough. You know, I think 8 players he played at the weekend were with other who have been here with other managers. This isn't his full project. I think you can only call this project a failure. Really, if you look at it on the whole, I think you have to. There's just so much going wrong at the moment. I really don't know what to say about it. I just think that these players aren't good enough. They're not trying. They don't seem to care almost. You know, Newcastle have had a bad injury list, great, but you could still see that when they play, there's a structure, there's an idea, there is something at play, and they're giving.
Just go back to my comment. Just go back to what I said about Man United versus Brighton.
Which comment was that?
Same thing. Doesn't matter who plays in a Roberto Sherby team. They will still play the same style of football. They will still play the same way, even if they lose players to injury or rotation in any circumstance. It's the same way. It's the same for Newcastle.
The thing you got to throw in as well is Ange Postecoglou's press conference of what we've been saying for ages on this pod. If you don't adapt, if you don't make the league adapt to you, you're finished as a manager.
How ironic.
Because you will get
Let's all
eaten
come
into
back
that
on the
hole.
screen. How ironic. Let's all come back on the screen because this is this is the funny thing. How ironic that Postecoglou said exactly what I said word for word. How ironic. Those were the exact words I said. If you do not make the league adapt to you, then you're finished. And he said those exact same words. I wonder if Postecoglou watches our podcast. I mean, I have offended your shit Celtic team for so long, mate, but that was pure bias aside.
I think the funny thing is, obviously, is how reactionary. Part of the problem is our fan base, Reece. How reactionary fans have gotten over the weekend. You know, past manager revisionism to an extent, calling for new managers to come in. No matter who they call in, it's not going to work.
I'm going to call them the ORG, the Ollie Revisionist Gimps. Like that's my new name for them, the Ollie Revisionist Gimps.
I love Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as much as the next man, but I don't.
He was a shit manager.
He was shocking.
People saying bring him back is the wrong thing. I think that no one could come in and make it work. Things need to this.
He was a shit manager with
whole,
no genuine credentials.
This whole, do you know what it? Admittedly, yes, but the thing I want to put to it is the fact that this whole thing needs like a whole NBA draft desk of we're releasing all of you by let's just start completely from scratch at this point with the players. Not enough players are, not enough players are showing why they should be here. It's almost like they've come in and like, oh, we're doing you a favor by being here, when that's not what they should be doing. A lot of these players are entitled. There is that report that's come out today about Ten Hag losing the dressing room. That's gonna
50% to be 50% is quite specific as well. And one of the reports that come out today, he's lost 50% of the dressing room. I'm sorry, but doesn't that not sound a little bit sus to you?
I don't know how much of it to believe, to be honest. I think that, Ollie was criticised for being too soft, and now we've got these players aren't used to discipline. Whenever discipline comes their way, they're literally going, hang on, we don't like that. We don't do that.
Just remember what I said last night before we answer Vicky's question. Just remember what I said in the Devil's Advocate podcast yesterday. These players generally give people on TikTok hope. The ones that do the trends for lazy working that says they cannot make it in a real working society. These players give those TikTokers hope for you can make it by being absolutely lazy. And if you've got a lazy attitude, then you should be on benefits, or you should be.
Graham Souness said something interesting today. Graham Souness said that Martial symbolises everything that's been wrong at United for the last 10 years.
I think he's been the main problem.
Old man may not be right about much, but he's right about that, if you think about it.
Right.
Martial's cycles match perfectly to what's been going wrong. New manager or something, personal form, look great, then suddenly down tools look bad, it gets bad, manager sacked.
Put this into perspective.
Let me just give you something else though. Let me just give you something else before we get to that, because this is another thing.
Yeah, because I have a massive thing on Martial.
Yeah, where is it? Yeah, this is another thing as well. So people want to talk about Solskjaer, right? That's fine. So let's bring something specific about Solskjaer that is very important. From going back between Solskjaer and obviously a little bit of Van Gaal, a little bit of Mourinho, there's 11 players that stand out. What do they all have in common? Dalot, Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, Maguire, Shaw, McTominay, Bruno Fernandes, Donny van de Beek, Rashford, Martial, Sancho. That's 11 players. What do they all have in common?
They all have their own fan bases.
No.
Yeah, I wouldn't say Maguire has his own fan base, though.
He does. But I've literally just, in a way, told you before naming those players. What do they all have in common? All of them, if not some of them, if not all of them, have all played under the last 4 or 5 managers at this club.
Yes.
And yet there was other players that were sold or let go because of being leaks. The leaks are in those 11 players. Those are your leaks. They're in there.
Put it this way in a perspective, and I'll just jump onto my Martial opinion, right?
Because Matic came out as well and said something interesting as well.
He did, and look how quickly he went out the door.
Yep, and look at his interview as well, the Serbia one that's came out.
Yeah.
I quoted it as well. I haven't had a
Yes.
chance to read it, but he said something about money and charitable donations and all that, and they were all spoilt. That's another thing, who turned up late to train. He mentioned Pogba and Lingard.
And at the end of the day, especially towards the end of his run at his second spell at United, literally Pogba thought he was bigger than the club. He thought he could get away with everything. I'm the record signing. There you go. But with Martial,
This is another
That's a
correct
good
point. Well done. And we'll come to your question in just a minute, Vicky. Don't worry, we haven't forgotten. But great point this as well. That's accurate as well.
if Martial was at any other top 6 club, right, he would have had a shelf life 2-3 years, if that. Flopped, moved on very quickly, seen the attitude problem. He has been at Manchester United for 9 years. For me, that just screams a problem. And I also think as well, with the performances added to that, because I know Martial has his fans and people absolutely protecting to anything in Man United.
They're wild.
They are
Wild.
He is the most overrated player in the Premier League. Like, at the end of the
He's
day,
one
going
of them.
forward as a number 9, what qualities does he have over... Like, I'd even play Van Veghorst over Martial as a striker.
There's 2 reasons why that
shows
happened
it for
last
me.
season. There's 2 reasons why that happened.
His hold-up play and his finishing
Availability
are actually good,
and
but the rest
work
is
ethic.
awful.
Yeah, exactly.
The annoying thing is, though, he's a good finisher and he does have good hold-up play. He does. But everything else goes out the window. Like, he has important qualities, but then he removes it by so many negatives.
Yeah.
But this is a big question, and Vicky's asked it spectacular. And by the way, on our the match reaction show that we did yesterday on the Devil's Advocate, I gave Anthony Gordon a 10 out of 10. But then obviously Julio went, he's only giving him a 10 out of 10 because he's going to be a Scotland player. I was like, no, it's because he generally had a perfect game. But Livramento seemed to be a Scotland player, and I gave him a...
He's excelling at Newcastle.
I genuinely hope he does. I genuinely hope he does put a Scotland shirt on, Anthony Gordon, and I do hope the same for Livramento, because I don't see either of them playing for England. I'll be very surprised if Gordon gets in the England squad, because Southgate has his players. He loves his preference. He will stick to Marcus Rashford.
Oh,
he won't change.
Apologies, guys. We have more breaking news. This is an even more shocking one.
Oh no.
Chris Wilder
There's
hasn't
been
got the job.
another sacking in the Championship.
Another?
Another one.
Watford.
Get ready.
Rotherham.
Watford, Huddersfield, or somewhere in between.
Nope.
Cardiff.
Nope. Tony Mowbray at Sunderland.
Really?
Eh?
Yep. Yes.
Okay, I admit I didn't see that coming. I mean, I think that says a lot. Without Amad
They're
Diallo,
9th.
They are 9th.
no Amad, no job then.
This was a
You know who
difficult
I'm
decision
actually
to make,
surprised.
but we remain loyal to our ambition and strategy, and felt now was the right moment to step up.
Who's available? Someone must be available for them to do that.
I know.
Please give them Michael Beale. Please give them Michael
For
Beale.
me, this is
Oh,
the.
no, please.
I thought they were done with their Netflix days. Like, that just
That is-
screams Netflix.
Well, we thought they were going to do it in the summer, Nathan. We were on that
They did.
stream one time and they were linked with Farioli.
You should have gone for
I'm
it
quite
then. Why wait till
surprised.
now when no one's available in December? You're 9th in the table, doing okay.
What makes no sense to me, right, is why Sunderland have acted quicker than Middlesbrough. Because even I don't think Michael Carrick is going to stay in his job. And I don't.
It's
I've got nothing against
a
Michael Carrick, but I
tricky
don't
one
think
with
he will stay
Carrick.
long.
Mainly because, for me, the mentality of the Borough owners are completely different to Sunderland's, because obviously they've had the takeover, and coming up from League One, they're ambitious to get back in the Premier League ASAP. Whereas, because of what happens with Middlesbrough in the summer and how much that squad weakened, they have to give Michael Carrick time and also leniency to get something out of that squad.
Oh, they should. I just know because the championship is cutthroat.
It is.
But just because the championship is cutthroat. But we'll see anyway where it goes. I hope he doesn't get the sack, but I think I'd be quite surprised if he still stays in the job just because it's a championship. But we'll see where.
I think if they don't get playoffs by the end of the season, they'll get rid of him. But Steve Gibson will give him time.
Yeah, for sure. Whew. Is there anything else in the Prem you guys want to talk about, or will we move on to the next part?
This question here.
Yeah, this. When is enough? When is enough for things to change? It should have been long before now. Should have been long before now.
Do you want my opinions on this as a neutral?
Yeah.
It was after Mourinho left. That was the time.
When Jose left, the cry was for a director of football and someone to come in and redo the standards that Man United has set for years. You know, bringing in youth, attacking football, you know. We're now 5 years later, almost to the day. We still don't have a director of football. We still don't have an adequate board. We still don't know what we're going to get in terms of style of play. We're 2 managers in from that day, 3 if you want to count Ralph Rangnick. You know, when Mourinho was sacked, the prime candidate seemed to be Pochettino. Yes, there were mentions of Zidane, even Conte, and a couple of others, but Pochettino seemed to be the prime one. And then Oli may have talked himself into the job during his interim period, and he may have decided, you know what, let me give a presentation. But it's just, it should have changed when Jose left.
Yeah,
that was when it should have happened. Oli might have succeeded to an extent if there was a proper board above him. I'm not saying he would have won the league, but
spot on.
True.
I think so.
Because you can say one thing but then do the other.
I think it's happened so many times in the Championship, and my club is massively immune to this as well because we've seen it so many times. You guys know the names, but with the Championship, there's only one of 2 ways: you give a manager too much time or not enough time.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it works to gamble, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah,
no
100%. 100%. I think we will also say as well that there's one other reflection that we need to talk about before we move on. Is the Ratcliffe deal is apparently expected to be next week when it should have been November. It's now come down to 1.25 billion for his stake in the club for what he wants to get. Not gonna lie, I like Ratcliffe, but the fact that the value has come down so much more is worrying. Where I wonder, you're putting money in the club, are you actually going to get the sporting structure?
For me, that screams one thing.
It screams Glazer backing.
Yeah, the reduction in the offer means the less of the percentage that he's getting. And that means the Glazers are going to...
He will ask for things and they will go 25% or whatever. Everything else. I'm here, you're here.
The Glazers will just be like, we don't support it.
They'll just say thanks for the 1.25 billion. You've replenished our pockets. Bye for now.
Yeah.
If we don't get a sporting structure, we're finished. That's it.
That comes with Ten Hag. It seems like they've given them the board, if there is a board. It seems that they've given him, or tried to give him all the power. Now that may have been okay 30, 40 years ago. Sir Alex came in and prioritized setting up a scouting network for younger players and players across Europe, potentially. Nowadays, we don't have that. Nowadays, you get the best football operators to do that, to focus on that behind the scenes. And I think that it's clear. I mean, the example everyone probably is best to use for this is the Arteta project at Arsenal. But the difference there was,
It's
I've
just
said it
anyone
before,
at Bayern. The best project is just anyone at Bayern.
that's the best project. But I think if you want to look for like comparison in the Premier League, probably that one. But
Or
the
like for
difference
like, I would
is-
go one crazier. Like for like, I would say West Ham.
in what aspect?
The sheer madness of how they've gone about their way of business, where you would think here's a typical player that David Moyes would sign, but they've actually accommodated it with skill, finesse, flair that generally isn't part of his
Yeah.
deal of work, and he's made it click.
But they've all got adequate boards. United don't have that. And also
But it's
for them,
not always
they're
adequate.
getting rid of
We've known
players.
for a long time that West Ham aren't adequate though. West Ham have had a lot of issues for quite some time, but yet
But
they
they
still
haven't-
managed to succeed.
Exactly.
But they still succeed in the one aspect where United for a long time have failed. They won a European trophy.
But they had to, when they won that European trophy, a plan had been in place for about 3 years. There was stability in place. United don't have that. United aren't getting rid of players aren't getting rid of players, and the players we're bringing in are questionable. You're questioning who's making decisions for every manager. Ollie comes in, for example, his first summer, you're seeing Maguire, Wan-Bissaka and Dan James, and you're thinking, okay, there seems to be this British core, like almost similar and reminiscent to what United used to do way back in the day. But then the summer after, they spent all summer chasing after Sancho and ended up with Telles, Cavani and Donny van de Beek. The plan that was originally put into place was backtracked. And then a year later, they went for big names again, Sancho, Varane, Ronaldo. And I think that that's what it's getting at right now.
Just seen something.
I saw
that's quite
a
interesting.
thing about where someone was saying
That's a good point.
exactly trying to sign
Let's just go
Instagram. And I think that
Speaking of that, there's something that's actually just came as quite interesting. This is, take it with a pinch of salt, but it's Kane Smith. But he's wrote an article in United District, and I've just had a quick read, and it's about Alvaro Fernandez, who I said should have been in the Man United senior squad for this season. But it talks about the fact how the reason for his move to Granada actually surfaced. And it says, and I literally do quote this: I sat down to talk, but as Hines was at a distance, it was a bit more complicated. In the end, it was done at the last minute. And this comes in the fact that Ten Hag couldn't count on him, but he stressed that succeeding at Old Trafford is his long-term goal. He then says, what message did United give me? That I should go out on loan, that Ten Hag didn't count on me, that I should continue to gain experience, rhythm, and we'll see what happens in the future. But it's clear that football doesn't happen at my club. Doesn't end at any club, and that you have to keep working. My main objective is to return to United and make a place for myself there. He's played 10 games, 5 from the bench. Now we've had consistent injuries to Luke Shaw and Tyrell Malacia, who's since not returned. Reguilon was signed as a January loan, and yet we could have had Alvaro Fernandez doing a Rico Lewis. He could have forced his way into that first team squad, showed some quality in himself in his own game, and actually stay in the team. But instead he's off back playing his native country of Spain on loan. Not going to get me wrong, but Ten Hag got that one wrong. Big time.
Listen, I'm all for saying that the manager's on the training pitch and he sees maybe what we don't. So maybe he has the thought process that maybe some players aren't good enough, and maybe he wants like the creme de la creme of youth players to play for him. But I just find it ridiculous that you loan out a young left back, even loan out Brandon Williams as well,
Should have released him, to be fair, because he's crap.
And then the point is, though, they were there, and then within 2 days of them going, suddenly we've got no left backs at the club. So we're literally going around the transfer window like it's 10-2. Anyone will do. Like, whose reject left back can we bring in on loan?
Exactly.
You know, Serge Reguilon was out of the plans from what it looked like at Spurs. He'd fallen down the pecking order. He was out on loan last season.
And he has, even though he's been okay at United, he's showcased why he was out of favour.
Exactly. We would have been better off keeping the likes of Alex Telles, maybe, even on top of like maybe Brandon Williams or Alvaro Fernandez.
I would have kept Telles. Ironic. I know a lot of people didn't rate him. I still do. And I think in this circumstance, he would have been good as a flying fullback. Or as a wing back if we changed system.
Yeah. I don't know. There's a lot going on that's with decision making that's making everyone question everything. I just don't like all this talk on Twitter about, bring in Zidane or Ancelotti or someone. Because at this point, I may as well say, yeah, do that. Do that if you want. But it's not going to get any better. Sure, it'll get better for a few months. That's it. It's not going to change where we are.
I distance myself from those ones because I'd like to have normal conversations. Yeah. Speaking of normal conversations, there is a conversation I think we're all going to enjoy in this one. Last year I got it extensively. This year Celtic got it. Scottish football clubs, particularly in the Champions League, so many issues they're not getting right, but when it's in the Europa League, it works. The Champions League, battering. And I think what was interesting is the contrast of post-match analysis by Owen Hargreaves compared to Neil Lennon from the Celtic game against Lazio, where Owen Hargreaves is literally saying genuine circumstance where Celtic are labelled as the best team in Scotland, but in Europe they're absolutely nothing. Like, they're not good enough. The quality isn't there. It's not showing. It doesn't matter how much money you spend, it's not going to change. They just cannot seem to do it. Whereas Neil Lennon's coming up with dodgy excuses, evading the questions, which is no surprise. But if that had been Rangers in the same circumstance, Neil Lennon would flat out just say the same thing. They're just borderline crap. Or they're just this and that, they're terrible. Whereas Owen Hargreaves and subjective would say, it's not just about the money you're spending, it's the overall quality you're bringing in. Celtic have a decent squad, but again in Europe, they've proven they're genuinely shit. Whereas in the Europa League setting, Rangers are actually doing okay. They go into a crunch game against Real Betis where if they win that game, they win the group, which is massive for them. But when you look in a nutshell, where can Scottish football go if they want to do better in the Champions League? Bring that comment up again as well, because what was that Vicky said there? That was great. Mind you, it said German in it, so I'm not surprised. If you look at some of the European, especially German teams, they are big muscle and full of structure. Every time we'll be looking.
That's where the 50+1 rule comes into massive play. Why it's so effective in Germany.
You couldn't give our fan base 50+1 though. I'd be real.
No chance.
I wouldn't give our fans 20+1. But structure is definitely important.
Yeah. One thing I want to say about the Celtic thing. You can come down to a couple of things. The first issue, I think, there's obviously the financial aspect of it, but that's okay when you're comparing it to the other teams in that group, like Atletico Madrid and Lazio. But I don't think Feyenoord get any different financially. The difference with Feyenoord is their crop of players that they're signing and stuff is a lot better. The quality in Dutch football, I think, overall, technically is probably better suited for the European game as opposed to Scottish football.
I think it is massively. And another thing that you've got to look at with Dutch football as well, and you've got the big three that you could, minus the way that Ajax are, because they are shocking at the moment, the big three that you could say in Dutch football, PSV, Feyenoord, Ajax, look at the youth systems they have.
Yeah.
And it is constantly a conveyor belt, no matter what situation they're in, whatever way you look at it. It's just a conveyor belt of producing pure talent that works at that level. And compared to what groups they get put in as well, compared to other countries, they are always going to come out on top. Like, you could say Belgium's coming into it now as well. Royal Antwerp.
Oh, they are.
Anderlecht,
Oh, they are.
they're coming into it
Club
massively.
Brugge.
Club Brugge have been fantastic, in particular the last 5 years in Europe. Always a dark horse.
Oh,
Do you
yeah,
see that with
tremendously.
Scotland? You get the old player coming through. In particular, I see it more when Celtic tend to scatter around more than bring up youth.
Yeah,
I
they
seem to, from an outsider's perspective, get more of it from Rangers bringing the youth through more. Maybe Aberdeen is just, I don't even know where to start with that monstrosity of a club.
Yeah,
but
I think it's a mentality issue as well.
It is.
Rangers' mentality in Europe was really good for a few years, and because of that, it's set a culture. So they'll do well in Europe. Because bear in mind, obviously, you think maybe in the late 2000s it would have been better, but then between 2010 and 2017, 2018, Scottish teams in Europe almost seem non-existent in terms of performance. Maybe you get the odd performance here and there, but realistically, things change for Scottish football, I think, after.
I think in
like,
around the 2010s as
yeah.
well, with obviously those famous Celtic wins, look at how many youngsters they had in those squads.
Mm.
And not only that, decent youngsters as well. An aging Celtic squad, no matter which way you look at it, never does well in Europe.
Yeah, but I think Rangers went into European games. Granted, they reached the Europa League final and they didn't win, but big nights at Ibrox have been a thing, have been a consistent thing for the last 5 years. I don't think Celtic have had that, especially when you've got David Brent, Brendan Rodgers in charge. You're not going to get that. I understand the concept of being realistic, and granted, Postecoglou didn't do much better with Celtic when he was with them in terms of Europe. But
then again, I think there was, considering how long, and it was obviously a short period of time that Postecoglou was in that job, I don't think between the transition periods coming away from Brenda football, he had enough time to build a European winning mentality with Celtic. I think if he was given at least, or if he stayed there for at least 3 years, he could have done something and they would have done decent in the Champions League. But just because he was only there for about a season, just not enough time.
Yeah.
As Ralph Rangnick would say, like at Man United, that was open heart surgery.
Oh my God. We didn't even talk about Rangnick's comments as well with the whole revisionism thing.
I know.
He's still right though. Rangnick is still right.
He is.
Mm-hmm.
And as we discussed, it'll only happen until major changes are made.
No, it happens when they leave and do better elsewhere. A part of me wants Ten Hag to go just so he can get a better job somewhere, because it's so bad currently at United.
Yeah.
And then he looks good, and then people are like, "Oh, he's half decent. He is." What the hell happened there? Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's ridiculous, honestly. But going back to Scottish football, I think that it's a mentality issue, especially with Celtic. So overall with the Scottish clubs, recruitment and finances, but specifically with Celtic, it's a mentality issue. Because you can't sit there and tell me that Yanis Hadji's a world beater. Don't get me wrong, I love the player, and he used to pop up in big games, especially in Europe a few years back. But he wasn't signed from Real Madrid. You know, he wasn't this big name player signed with enormous pedigree, to the extent where a Jude Bellingham is, for example. It's a mentality thing. And granted, I know the Europa League is different to the Champions League, but when Celtic have been in the Europa League, they've not pulled up trees either.
Yeah, they generally struggled.
Yeah. It's like, I can also see Aberdeen struggling in the Conference League, potentially finishing third.
Yeah.
But what's
That's
funny is
another
if Rangers
mentality
win
issue.
the Conference League. But what's funny is if Rangers win the Conference League, Rangers would probably walk it to the final, which says a lot. It's like they're the only Scottish team that actually generally prepares for Europe. like they actually take Europe seriously as well as the league competition. I mean, that
I think it
says
comes
a
into
lot.
way as well. I being completely unbiased as possible here, the Celtic arrogance does feed into it a lot, mainly because of the 2010s, where there was no competition, getting into the Champions League practically every season in the qualifiers, winning the league. There was absolutely no reason for them to prepare for Europe.
Yeah.
Celtic
And they were making all that money and
titles,
they were getting
winning
away with it.
trebles. It just
But
didn't
now
matter.
But now they're realizing all that money they've made, they need to seriously spend.
Not only that as well, because Hearts and Hibs have sorted their stuff out. Now that they're going to be consistently fighting to get in Europe as well. You've also got, I think it's St Mirren are also doing well, aren't they?
Yeah, they're doing alright actually.
Yeah, St Mirren are battling through. Aberdeen have, well, I feel like they're still in their banter era. They might push through. They're getting Europe as well. Livingston, another dark horse. There's so many ways to take it.
Just need more money in the league.
Yeah.
And that stems on to our final topic of the night, actually.
It does. Absolutely perfect timing.
Premier League TV deal. Another one. All this money, and yet what's going to change apart from the amount of games we watch on TV? Nothing.
Does it end the 3 p.m. blackout though?
No. Thank God.
Then there's no point to it. This is them going, hey, look, we've got more games. But it doesn't, because that's not what the fans want. I mean, the fans would love more games. I'd love more games from other leagues. Like, I'd love to see more championship matches. Because I guarantee half the Premier League games I watch a season probably nowhere near as exciting. Like, that's why playoffs are my favourite time of year. Like, final day in the EFL.
When I saw the Championship TV deal come through, I was absolutely over the moon. I do think there should have been a lot more money with how much Sky bought the regained the rights for. But when I saw the Premier League one today, I was absolutely appalled by it. Because the disparity between, in particular, the Football League and absolutely the Championship and the Premier, the gap is just going to get wider. Parachute payments are going to get bigger. Payments to these teams are going to get bigger. It's just going to be a complete and utter mess. But to bring the positives into it as well, I think that TNT losing, well, they've gained more matches, but they've technically lost rights to it because they're only going to get those midday kickoffs. I think that's a positive thing for the fans. And another positive thing is that Amazon have completely lost all the rights to the Premier League. That is fantastic.
I don't know. Something about the Amazon games low-key give me a nice nostalgic vibe, but I think it's just because of Christmas.
I think so.
I like
not only that as well.
I like the games
you
from
got to buy
Amazon.
free subscriptions.
I like the games that are on Amazon, but the problem with the Amazon thing as well, though, is how far you are behind watching a match.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which really isn't. When you're getting updates like, oh, a team scored 5 minutes later, now you've seen the goal, and you're like, that's not right.
At the end of the day, put this into perspective. Amazon's a streaming service. It's not a TV thing. It's essentially WWE's way of killing off the term pay-per-view and sticking it onto Peacock in America.
True. Premium live
as an example.
as they call it now.
Yeah. For that reason, it's just all streaming. But
yeah,
I think another thing that harms it more as well, and I think it's a good thing in the long run, but I think it's more for the cups that they need it for, is all midweek games being televised.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it's all on BT again.
Which is more expensive.
It is. And not only that as well, do you get the value for money that you do with a Sky subscription? Absolutely not.
Well, like anything that involves Jermaine Genius and Robbie Savage isn't worth your money, so.
Exactly. And we have Sky Sports. The only time we've had BT is when the FA Cup was on there, which was an absolute joke because all those games should not be behind a paywall, full stop.
Yeah.
And B was when Cardiff City were in the Premier League. Aside from that, there's no value for money for it.
Pretty much.
Especially with unless you like to watch rugby, like what was it, Premier League and stuff, rugby union. If you're Welshman or Scotsman, you're not going to watch it.
I don't think I can watch any rugby unless it's. I barely watch rugby unless it's Scotland beating England.
I'm in the same boat, but I don't know. I think another one that they've costed it for as well is the next TV rights for the Carabao Cup. For me, all of those midweek games, they have to be either on a red button or something. Because, like, for this season, as an example, if your team's playing away midweek, a dead rubber game, which you could call in the early rounds, there's no way of watching them unless you go. And considering some of the distances they're putting with the games, it's making it impossible for the fans. Which, ultimately, even with these new TV deals, the fans are going to pay the price again. Especially the ones who go week in, week out into these away games.
They just don't care.
They don't.
What they're doing, they just don't care, and it's wrong. And that's where the biggest problem is, and that's where a lot of people are just going to tune out on this lot. It's the sheer price. It's just wrong.
It is, and the fact that this TV deal is what, $6.5 billion now.
Yeah.
Record ever, and it's even more compared to the last one. It just means subscriptions are going to go up. I know Sky love their price increases, but I reckon it's going to go up to 32 to 55 quid a year. Not a year, sorry, a month.
Yeah.
That's disgusting.
It's horrible. I know. Not many people will be able to afford all that.
I know.
You wonder why people switch over to what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because of this. I mean, at one point I was spending nearly £190 a month on subscription that included BT Ultimate, and included, like, for their app, Sky Sports, like through Night TV, all that shit. 190 quid. That included, like, Netflix, Disney Plus, all of that, just to watch films or up-to-date TV. Now I'm spending nothing.
The thing that I find insane with that is my Cardiff season ticket's cheaper, even though it goes up to about $270 next year, which is like 3 months. That's a season ticket for me. And even then as well, I could still go to away games and it'd be cheaper.
Yep. Exactly.
Talk about pricing out the fan.
I think we're at that point now where they don't care about fans anymore.
They don't. But another one it'll be interesting with is what happens with the next UEFA TV deals. Because I know Sky won't.
There's no way TNT will lose them. There's no way TNT will lose the European games. I don't see it happening.
They'll do everything they can to keep them.
They will.
I think TNT would gladly lose the Prem.
If you guarantee it's
not happening. Because Sky keep crawling their rights through it, and pretty much Football League will always be on Sky because they have so much monopoly in the EFL, like they sponsor the leagues. There's your Sky.
Yeah,
I think with European football, though, I'd love to see it back on ITV. I just don't think they have the money to get the rights off TNT, which pains me to say it.
They haven't got the commentators for ITV anymore either.
They don't. They're all absolutely dreadful and obsessed with England.
I can't.
But I think that if the ideal scenario for it, which would be fair for the fan, which everyone knows that they don't care about, is for all of the England, Scotland, Wales, and Ireland games, with those teams playing in Europe, all of them are on ITV. Everything else, I mean, it may disadvantage some fans of teams overseas. Go on to TNT.
I'm pretty sure the only thing ITV have, club football-wise, is La Liga.
And the FA Cup.
Some format. Yeah, of course, they've got the FA Cup. They share the FA Cup now.
La Liga's on not Viaplay, the other one, their equivalent of that as well.
Yeah, plus Viaplay's going as well because they've withdrawn.
Satanta Sports is coming back.
Really?
I've already seen
Jeez,
it.
Satanta, such a
Yeah.
throwback.
I've got
I
on
mean,
my
we've had-
TV.
We've had so many debates about international football as well, with their
know for a
TV
fact
deals, which
Satanta.
are an absolute joke.
Yeah, I know
And no
Satanta
one
Sports are
cares
coming
for
back.
international football anyway.
My BTV's got this Satanta Sports because they're trialing it. They're bringing it back. That's how I know Satanta Sports is in operation. It's been a long time. That's been over 15 years.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's mad.
I remember watching an old Benitez clip. It might have been his facts rant, and he mentioned Satanta Sports. I just remember commenting like him saying Satanta, listening to him saying Satanta, even though he said it in 2009. Hearing it in 2023 is such a weird nostalgic throwback.
Do you want to know what would be a good idea? But at the
What?
end of the day, how much does this disadvantage some areas of it? If you have a season ticket, and it might reduce crowds for midweek aways, you should be able to watch midweek away games via a club streaming service.
Mhm. As long as you can prove you're a season ticket holder, yeah.
Yeah,
Which should be straightforward with your club account.
well, you think, but
Yeah.
United's quite outdated with a lot of things they do. So
True. I mean, with
True.
how some clubs approach it, like Cardiff City would be absolutely fine.
Mhm.
You stick your fan ID on your season ticket, which they already do, everything's merged into one account. You can easily hop on and watch a midweek game
That would be good.
away from home.
That would
And
be
even
good.
then, to make it fairer on the fans, because everyone knows my attitudes with some games that are arranged midweek, you put a cap of 2.5 hour drive
Yeah.
for midweek away games. Because we're seeing like what Cardiff against Middlesbrough midweek now. That's disgusting.
Yeah. But that's not right at all. That's not right. Too many people are losing out on like sleep, time from work, and all that. That's not right. It's taken
Like
away
the-
from the fans.
The reason they'll do these long distance games, and the Newcastle fans summed it up absolutely perfectly, is because the fans will go and do it.
Yeah.
Because they're so used to it. Would you see it from a Midlands club? Probably not. Aside from your Leicesters or Villas, no. London clubs,
No.
probably not. Clubs up north, no way.
United, you would.
Oh yeah, the ones who have amazing away followings,
But that's
100%.
it. But that's it. Yeah.
But your ones who blow
Yeah.
hot and cold are the ones who suffer, and the ones who,
Yeah.
say for example, if they get stuck midweek, they're not taking any. Well,
Aye.
not so much any, but reduced numbers.
Agreed. Any last comments, lads, before we go?
I think we covered it all. Smashed it, guys.
yeah, it's just crazy how there's so much going on at United, and I'm just genuinely lost for words as to what to talk about.
Yeah, we're all in that mindset. To everyone that's watched.
It's crazy how I find a go a long-winded way just to say screw player FC, back the manager. Even if it takes 5 years, clear out that dressing room if you have to, throw their lockers, do a proper like DIY SOS with that team. That's literally just that.
That's all you can do. Yeah, aside from that as well, one more thing I'll add. Less will laugh at Swansea.
Tony Mowbray to Swansea, who says no?
For me, I can see it happening.
That would be funny.
You know what? I'm going to
Interesting
lay it
to
down
see
here now.
Go next.
Tony Mowbray's going to be the next Swansea manager. And I know they're going to kick off about it down west because of the style of play. Nathan Jones is going to Sunderland.
Oh my god, no, I don't see that. Well, I think they want to play very attacking football with young players. Does Nathan Jones fit with that?
Tough to say. But then again, look what he did with that Luton side. They may
But
look at
then
it that way,
it's
or how he
Southampton.
ruined Southampton and Stoke.
Sunderland's a big club. I don't. Nathan Jones, for me, would be the wrong fit. I don't think he could handle how big of a club Sunderland is. Say what you want about Sunderland, about the place or the people or the Netflix stuff. It's a huge football club. It's a huge stadium. Nathan Jones is not going to handle that. I'm just intrigued to see where they go with this next.
Do you reckon they go for a hipster appointment abroad, or do they stay with what they've been doing? Big names coming in: Alex Neil, Tony Mowbray.
Me personally, I'd go with someone proven in the Championship because I'd want to see Sunderland back in the Premier League. But I just think that something doesn't smell right. And it's not in my room. I'm wearing deodorant and stuff, so it's not here. I mean, something doesn't smell right in the sense of the timing of it just seems so random. I think, obviously, we'll get more news about it over the next few days, but it's based on the timing and everything. It's leaning towards someone who, it's like when a guy is following 5 different Instagram girls and has all of them on lock, and then the moment one of them becomes single, he breaks up with whoever he's with because it feels like it could be one of those with Sunderland. Like someone who's probably got the Farioli pedigree, not Farioli himself because he's going in the job and doing bits.
Because another thing I'm going to check very quickly as well is, have they brought in an interim? Or have they put a caretaker in charge? Because that's usually the indicator.
Have they even announced anything? All they've announced, obviously, at the moment, it seems, is they've parted company. But have they announced someone's taken over? Because bear in mind, they released this literally 10 o'clock on the dot.
So they've said that Mike Dodds will be taking training. Nothing mentioned about matches. And in addition to that as well, they have also parted company with his assistant.
Okay, so there's a new guy coming in. So it looks like someone has said, "I'm free," and they've gone, right, say no more. Thank you, but no. So it looks like it's leaning towards that kind of appointment. Like, I don't know, a big name from Turkey or Italy but we'll see what happens. I don't currently have any names to mind in the frame, but
John Eustace
maybe
could
that's
come
a good
through.
thing.
Pardon?
Mm-hmm.
John Eustace maybe for either Swansea or Sunderland, because I know he's favourite for the Swansea job at the moment. And that's another one I'm going to check, actually, reading through again, if I can find it, their statement, because I think that Swansea have put an interim in charge.
But will that interim be next few weeks, or will it be till the end of the season? To be fair, this is the Championship. I highly doubt they're going to go till the end of the season, especially in the position. Or they're 20th. That probably would be the word. They couldn't do that. They need to get someone in.
Yeah, so it looks like... their assistant manager. So so Swansea have got 2 assistants. Alan Sheehan, who's the other assistant manager, he's taken over as caretaker. And then Martin Patterson, who's Duff's number 2, he's been sacked as well. And they've put him as interim head coach, meaning they're going to put him in charge for a few games. With the statement. Plus, Swansea have got a director of football as well. So
Swansea will go hipster. Swansea will go somewhat hipster.
Yeah, they should go for Michael Beale.
Oh my!
I would love that. Absolutely love that.
Oh my god!
But at the end of the day, with Swansea, they went for the approach of winning games. They went for Michael Duff, which was something that they completely twisted the approach from what they'd gone before. They moved away from hipster managers. Yeah, over time. moved away from the hipster managers. It didn't work. The fans wanted him out. They're going to go back to the hipsters.
Yep. And we will see how it goes. But on that note, thank you everyone for watching. We will see you next week for Nathan's host job. It's going to be wicked. See you all later. Bye for now.
See you later, lads.
Live on YouTube. And listen back on Spotify. This is the World of Football podcast.